In the mid-1950s, Detroit was in a horsepower war. Ford had its new Y block, Chevrolet launched the legendary 265 small block, and Pontiac was still stuck with its outdated flathead straight 8, heavy, sluggish, and old-fashioned. Pontiac's image was that of a car for old men, and dealers feared the brand might be on the chopping block. Then suddenly, in 1955, Pontiac shocked everyone with a brand new 287 cubic inch V8, lighter, stronger, and smoother than anyone expected. It didn't just save the company, it kick-started an entirely new era of performance for General Motors. But behind that success lay secrets and internal politics that GM never wanted the world to know. After years of being labeled the most conservative brand in the GM family, Pontiac entered 1954 in real trouble. The Chieftain and Star Chief were still praised for comfort, but no longer stirred any excitement. While Chevrolet and Oldsmobile were launching modern V8 engines, Pontiac seemed stuck in the past. Sales were falling fast, dealers were frustrated, and the press began asking, does Pontiac even deserve to exist anymore? Behind closed doors at GM headquarters, some executives suggested merging Pontiac with Buick or cutting its budget entirely. Amid that gloomy atmosphere, a small group of engineers at the Pontiac plant in Michigan refused to give up. Led by Ed Kelly, Pete Estes, and Elliot Chief Knudsen, they quietly began planning a completely new engine, something powerful enough to make the corporation take notice. There was no room for safe ideas anymore. Instead of copying Chevrolet or Buick, they started from scratch, guided by 3 principles: more power, more durability, and long-term adaptability. The Pontiac 287 cubic inch V8 embodied those ideals. Its solid cast-iron block used 5 main bearings, rare for mid-range V8s of the era, giving it exceptional rigidity and long-term reliability. The in-block camshaft operated the valves through a pushrod system, but Pontiac's engineers refined every linkage to run smoother and quieter than competitors. The lubrication system was a breakthrough, a high-pressure, full-flow oil circuit that distributed oil evenly to every bearing, keeping the 287 cool and dependable even under stress. The wedge-shaped combustion chambers improved burn efficiency and allowed compression ratios up to 8.0 to 1 while maintaining smoothness. Redesigned heads balanced airflow between intake and exhaust, and the Carter WCFB 4-barrel carburetor delivered consistent fuel mixture. Output ranged from 173 horsepower in the base version to 200 in the high-performance variant. But the 287's real genius was in its open-ended architecture. Pontiac intentionally cast the cylinder walls thicker than usual, allowing future increases in bore or stroke without retooling the block. Every core specification, bore spacing, camshaft location, oil channel layout was standardized for easy expansion. Few inside GM realized it then, but the 287 wasn't built just for 1955. It was engineered as the cornerstone of Pontiac's V8 evolution, the starting point of a lineage that would redefine the brand's identity. When the 287 was finally completed, Pontiac was no longer an underdog. The engineers who once worked in the shadows now held something powerful enough to change the brand's destiny. The only question left was, would America believe in a new kind of Pontiac? By the spring of 1955, the answer arrived. Dealerships across the country unveiled the new Chieftain, Star Chief, and Catalina, each powered by the all-new 287 V8. From the first turn of the key, it was clear. Pontiac had changed. The press was skeptical at first. Could a brand known for comfort and conservatism really talk about performance? But after a few test drives, journalists agreed. This was a completely different Pontiac. The 287 responded instantly to throttle input, its deep, steady rumble unlike anything the brand had ever built. Every aspect of the driving experience, acceleration, smoothness, control, felt transformed. The 4-barrel version produced 200 horsepower, giving these 3,800-pound cars surprising punch. More than sheer speed, it was the confidence and composure that impressed drivers most. That same year, a few private racers took their 287-powered Pontiacs to NASCAR events without any factory backing. To everyone's astonishment, the new V8 proved remarkably tough, finishing races that bigger, hotter engines couldn't survive. Not stopping there, the Pontiac 287 continued to attract attention when automotive magazines compared it directly to its two biggest 1955 rivals, the Chevrolet 265 and the Ford 272. And on the test bench, this rookie V8 proved why it wasn't just a breakthrough. It was Pontiac's statement of strength. The Chevrolet 265 was praised for being compact and efficient, displacing 4.3 liters and producing between 162 and 180 horsepower. The Ford 272 Y-block was larger, at 4.5 liters and around 182 horsepower, but heavier and less efficient due to its deep combustion chambers. The Pontiac 287, with 4.7 liters of displacement and a 4-barrel setup, delivered 200 horsepower and far stronger torque from low RPM. What made the 287 stand out wasn't just its power, it was its flat torque curve and lightning-fast throttle response. Where the Chevrolet needed higher revs to reach its peak, the Pontiac pulled hard early and stayed smooth throughout the range. On the road, that translated to an almost magnetic throttle feel, instant response, steady acceleration, and unmistakable refinement. In Motor Trend tests, the Pontiac Star Chief 287 went from 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 11 seconds, outpacing the Chevrolet Bel Air with the 265. Even better, its fuel consumption was only slightly higher, offset by superior stability and reliability. But Pontiac didn't stop at the 287. Just a year later, its engineers began expanding the lineup, each step proving that the 287 was not just an engine, but the foundation of a new V8 generation. In 1956, the 316 cubic inch arrived, essentially an enlarged 287 with a wider bore, producing 216 to 227 horsepower depending on configuration. Pontiac fine-tuned the carburetor, optimized ignition timing, and improved airflow, giving the car's quicker throttle response while maintaining smooth operation. It was the transition from a good engine to a high-performance engine, marking Pontiac's readiness to challenge anyone in Detroit. By 1957, displacement grew again to 347 cubic inches, pushing output to around 290 horsepower, a figure once reserved for luxury sports cars. More importantly, the 347 became the basis for the tri-power setup, using 3 dual-barrel carburetors and ushering in Pontiac's legendary 3-deuce era of the 1960s. What's remarkable is that despite a nearly 70% power increase, the basic architecture, block, camshaft, and heads remained fully compatible with the original 287. The standardized design principles laid down in 1954 allowed Pontiac to grow stronger without reinventing the platform. But behind the roaring success of the 287 and its later evolutions, Pontiac faced several issues the company never publicly admitted. The first problem lay in the cooling system. Because of the thick cast iron block and narrow coolant passages, early 287 units often suffered from heat buildup in the rear cylinders, causing occasional overheating during long drives or in hot weather. Pontiac quickly addressed it by widening the coolant channels and redesigning the fan blades, but internally, this was considered a quiet worry the company didn't want the press to know about. In addition, the fuel consumption of the 287 was notably higher than Chevrolet's 265. On highways, it averaged around 12 to 14 miles per gallon, falling short of what post-war consumers expected after the early 1950s fuel shortages. For more frugal drivers, the 287 was sometimes seen as an engine for enthusiasts rather than pragmatists. Few people know that Pontiac even tested a supercharged version of the 287 in late 1955. The engine produced nearly 260 horsepower, but GM's upper management shut the project down before production, fearing it would disrupt Pontiac's conservative brand image within the corporation. Had the project been approved, Pontiac, not Chevrolet or Chrysler, might have been the company to usher in the muscle car era. Today, when people talk about Pontiac's legendary V8s, the 389 Tri-Power, the 400 Ram Air, or the 455 HO, few remember that it all began with one humble engine, the 287. It was the foundation stone for Pontiac's entire high-performance legacy that would last more than 2 decades. From the block layout and camshaft position to the combustion chamber design, every Pontiac V8 that followed inherited the architecture born with the 287. Remarkably, a 1960s cylinder head could still bolt onto a 1955 block, something almost unheard of in Detroit engineering. The 287 created a unified bloodline, allowing Pontiac to grow stronger without sacrificing durability. But its legacy went beyond mechanics. The 287 marked Pontiac's awakening, the moment the brand shed its car for old men image and became a symbol of power and youth. Without the 287, there would be no 389 GTO, no Firebird, and perhaps no Pontiac muscle era at all. If you've ever owned, driven, or simply heard the rumble of a 287, share your memories and thoughts below. Your stories keep this piece of automotive history alive. And if you enjoy uncovering the hidden truths behind legendary engines, don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this video with your fellow gearheads. The Pontiac 287 wasn't just the first V8. It was a reminder that in the world of machines, every legend begins with a single spark.